Hello everyone, it's Rachel. Welcome to my channel and to today's video where I'm going to be sharing my postpartum journey with you guys. I've talked a lot on this channel about pregnancy and I've shared my birth story, but I haven't really shared my postpartum experience. And postpartum is something that can be really difficult. There's a lot of hormones and adjustments. So I thought I'd sit down and share with you my experience, kind of how it was with my first, with my second, just kind of share with you as if, you know, we were sitting down having a little chat together in my home. You can go grab a cup of coffee. I would have a cup of coffee with me, but I've already had 2 small cups already today. So go grab yourself a hot drink and let's sit down and share my story with you guys. So my postpartum experience with my son was kind of an up and down one. It was a little bit of a roller coaster. I had a really good birth experience. I pushed for 2 hours and then had a episiotomy. So that wasn't that fun. I was very tired and I had stitches to heal from, but I felt that immediate connection to my baby and just so much love for him, like right away, not really wanting to be without him, not wanting to be away from him. I did have some issues with my stitches. I almost got an infection and I had to go in, it was a few days after he was born, I think, get them looked at, go on antibiotics. It's very overwhelming just trying to deal with breastfeeding. He had a tongue tie, so he had a lot of trouble latching in the hospital. I had help and everything was fine. But then I brought him home and he was having a lot of trouble eating. So the first few days were just so stressful, trying to learn to breastfeed and figure out his feeding and having to try to bottle feed him because he couldn't latch properly and just so many things with the tearing. It was a lot, but I felt so happy during the whole time. I never really had any baby blues or postpartum depression or anything, which I was very aware of, and I was keeping an eye out for any signs of it. That was something they talked to me about at the hospital, you know, make sure you have a strong support system. And there were questions they asked me beforehand to see if I would be more likely to have postpartum depression or not. It was something, I was very aware of. I knew that if I started to see these signs, just to make sure I was talking to people, getting support I needed to help with that, but it never showed up. I never had any baby blues, nothing. And that actually surprised me. It was something that I know is so common that a lot of women struggle with. So I was like mentally prepared to have to deal with some of that, but it never really came. I was just loving being a mom. And of course there's like so many things you have to figure out and learn. And it was definitely overwhelming. And there were days that were really hard. And I did often feel overwhelmed, but I was so happy during it and just really enjoying the whole motherhood journey. So my first experience was great. Definitely the whole body changes was a bit of an adjustment because I had my son and then suddenly 3/4 of my wardrobe suddenly didn't fit me anymore. I had to get rid of a lot of my dresses and tops, pants, like pretty much everything because it just didn't fit me anymore. So I had a very limited wardrobe, and for some reason I never really replaced much of it. I got a couple pieces, but I pretty much stuck with just what I had. Adjusting to my body, it was a little while, but I never had any big struggles with it. I felt comfortable and confident, even though there were changes in my body for sure. And there are little things I did to help with like excess skin on my belly that I have from being pregnant. I find wearing high-waisted jeans helps like hold everything in, little things like that to help with just the different changes that have happened in my body. But I never had any like confidence issues or body image issues or anything. Now, my postpartum journey with my daughter is something very different. Speaking of which, she wanted to come join the chat. With my daughter, she was born 5 days early and I did not have to have an episiotomy, but I did have stitches. And again, I had a really good birth experience. I'm very blessed that both my births were good experiences, nothing crazy. The first thing I noticed is that with her, I didn't have that immediate connection I had with my son, and it was a little bit hard not having that, because, you know, I felt just such closeness to my baby when my son was born, and I'd kind of been expecting that, I guess, with my daughter, and then when it didn't come, it was disappointing. And then also had me feeling like, do I not love her as much? So I found myself just feeling almost like guilty about that, and coming home and trying to balance having 2 kids. That was something that was really hard for me. I have a baby I have to take care of, whose needs I have to look out for, but then I also have a toddler, and I want to make sure he doesn't feel neglected or anything like that. And I found that sometimes I was almost trying so hard to make sure he wasn't feeling neglected that it was almost like I was spending more time with him than with my baby. Obviously, if she was crying, then I was there with her. If she needed me or if she needed to be fed, of course I would deal with her. But if she was happy playing, then I would kind of just leave her and go play with my son because he wanted me there. And then that made me feel guilty as well. And it was something that I really struggled with, finding the balance. How do I be there for my toddler and give him attention and make sure he's not feeling like ignored, while also bonding and spending time with my baby? And for a while it was really hard for me, and I dealt with guilt. Eventually, you know, if she was okay, I would take time with my son, but then if he was happy playing and I was just spending time sitting on the couch holding my baby or playing with her, I would try to really enjoy that time bonding with her. Not only was I trying to figure out all of that, but this time around at 3 months, I also had days where I was feeling down, and I felt like I hadn't really felt really happy in a long time. Like I almost felt like I couldn't remember what that felt like. And it wasn't like I was having bad days or just feeling upset all the time or down all the time or anything. It was just felt like, I don't know how to explain it other than there was just like a haze over life, and I was missing that like joy, and just feeling very I'd have some days where I was just feeling really down and where I didn't want to be with people. I wanted to be alone. That went on for, I'm not exactly sure how long. It started off really mild and it started to build, and then after a couple months it slowly started to go away. It's something like I talked to Alex about so he was aware of it. It's really hard to explain exactly. I don't even know when it went away. It just happened so gradually. I just started having days where I was like, you know what, today was a really good day. I was really happy today, and you know, that feeling started to come back. But it was never serious enough that I had to like speak to a doctor or anything about it. It was just something that, you know, Elias was aware of and I was aware of. And then this time around as well, I wouldn't say I dealt with body image issues, but I was definitely a lot more aware of like, oh, I have like nothing in my closet to wear. How did I manage with just these few clothes from when Tobias was born till I was pregnant with Esme? Because it was so few pieces. I don't know why I didn't go buy more, but I just suddenly felt very like aware of, I have like no clothes, and these clothes don't fit me properly and they're not flattering anymore. And it was something I never really thought about after Tobias was born, and then suddenly I was very aware of it. I've been slowly trying to grow my wardrobe. I've found when I was pregnant with Esme, I found like kind of what style I really like, because before I never really thought about what style of clothing I like to wear. And when I got pregnant with her, that's when I found out like, oh, I really love this style. I love neutrals. I love kind of a little bit of like vintage vibes. After she was born, I started just being very intentional about the pieces I bought, spending a little more money to make sure they were clothing that was going to be comfortable, that fit with my style, that was quality, that would last where I could. Of course, I have spent money on like cheaper items, but making sure there's stuff that I really love and that I want to wear and want to reach for. All of those things together just made this postpartum experience so much different than my first, where it's just like everything was great. I had no insecurities or anything. And then this time around where I had some insecurities, I had some down days. It's crazy like how different each experience can be. I am so grateful that it never got really bad for me, that I never struggled with huge image issues or had a lot of postpartum depression. I cannot imagine having a baby and dealing with that as well. If you are a mama and you recently had a baby or you're still dealing with things like that, honestly, I feel for you and I'm praying for you, because I know like having a baby is a lot. It can be very overwhelming, especially if it's your first, and then dealing with all the hormones and everything. Like, it's not easy. Postpartum it's difficult. It's very difficult and emotional time. That is my postpartum experience, my first and my second. If you have been through the whole postpartum stage, and if you have anything that you did that really helped you deal with either postpartum depression or body image issues or anything like that, leave it in the comments down below so we can like help each other out, encourage each other. Thank you guys so much for being here and for just hanging out with me and hearing my story. I appreciate you guys so much, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye.